Hi, I'm Dave.
And I'm Jen, and welcome to Dave and Jen Ignite.
Lesson today is on communication and how important that is for every relationship, whether it's a marriage relationship or at work or your significant other. Just the importance of really communicating with one another what's going on and what's happening about your plans. So let's start with a story about some non-communication. So it's about 9 o'clock at night and the kids are in bed, and this was a number of years ago, and there's a knock on the front door. And so I go and I open the front door, and there are these 5 or 6 children ranging in age from about 2.5 to probably 10. And they say, "Oh, our mom went into labor." And I'm thinking, "Oh, okay, does she need help?" What I didn't know.
Well, what happened was, so Dave calls me to the door, and I said, "Oh, honey, I forgot to tell you that I invited this family. I talked to their mom, and I said, hey, whenever you go into labor, let us know if you need help with the kids." "Well, that's absolutely fine. Just, we're happy to do that." Well, I forgot to tell Dave about that. And it wasn't malicious. It wasn't anything deliberate. I just forgot to tell him. So when these 5 or 6 I don't think there were more than 6 children showed up on our doorstep in their pajamas at 9 o'clock at night, he was a little surprised. So, well, of course, we invited them in, and we pulled the pull-out out, laid them across this way, and they slept. We got them up, fed them breakfast, and sent them off to school. I don't know, actually, if they had pajamas on or not. I don't know if they wore pajamas to school. I don't remember. I just remember feeling really bad that I had not mentioned that to my husband, that we might be having a few neighbor kids over sometime soon.
Does that happen at your house?
I'm sure not.
If it does, maybe put that in the comments below. You've got a story to tell, I'm sure.
Oh, yes.
But communication is key to the marriage. And whether that's actually a marriage relationship, but also at work, communication is key. And obviously you do a lot. I know when I was going through school, they tried to get us to avoid verbal communication only. And by that they meant don't just speak to somebody about something. Write it down, send it to them via email, or get it communicated in a form that you can refer back to. And I don't think it was just to make sure you covered yourself, but to also make sure it got communicated.
They had email back when you were in school?
Okay,
sorry.
Write it down on a memo and send it.
Anyway,
I'll tell you how old we are. I worked on a basic program once. Had to write my own basic program, and actually before that, we're off target. Before that though, it was key punch into the cards. You remember those?
But that was communication too, because that's how we could communicate with the computers. And I'm really glad we don't have to do that anymore. Now back to our subject for the day.
Indeed. Communication, and it is not a one-way street. And if you've had a communication class, I'm sure they talked about how we think about things, and we encode them, and then we communicate them, and then they hear them, and then they decode them, and then there's lots that goes on in that process. So it's important that it not be a one-way street, not a pouring out of information simply as I'm telling you something, but a dialogue, a definite back and forth to make sure we clarify and have an open dialogue about, as we've mentioned in another video about listening skills, just here's what I heard you say, those kinds of things. It's really important to talk about those kinds of things.
Absolutely. And typically, if it's important for me to remember, it should be important enough for me to communicate that with anyone else who may be involved. Point being the children in the neighborhood that definitely involved not only Dave but our children who were up in bed sleeping at the time. So if it's something important enough for me to remember, I need to make the effort and make it a concerted effort to communicate that with anyone else who that may involve. And again, sometimes it's not a deliberate omission, it just happens. But that's why writing things down, emailing them, texting them, whatever it might be in these day and ages, to just make sure that we are in communication and making sure that we don't forget. Oftentimes we have gone out to dinner with friends or gone to visit friends or family members, and we'll be talking around the table, and Dave will say something and say, "Oh yeah, I'm going to be going to this, next month. It's a work conference." And I'll go, "I didn't know that. You didn't tell me that." So I learn a lot by going out with other friends and just being around other people. We learn a lot. It's not just, he's not the only one that may omit telling me things, and neither am I. But so it's really important. We go and we don't get really mad. It's just, oh, I didn't know that. And oftentimes it makes us feel like perhaps we're relaying to the people we're with that we don't communicate, and sometimes we just don't. But we really are. We really want to. We want to get better at that.
And that's an important piece there. You mentioned it. It's not like we don't want to, but sometimes it communicates you're not valuable,
Exactly.
or you're not worth me telling this to. And that certainly is not what any
No.
of us
Oh,
would
no,
ever
no,
want to
no.
communicate.
We hope.
Yeah, we hope. But that's sometimes what does get communicated in that process. So including people in those kinds of communications, spouses, significant others, people at work, is really, really important, because as a general rule, they need to be included. So that's what we want. In an effort to do so, I heard a pastor one time say that during his work, as he went through the day, as significant things occurred, he pulled out, and again, this is an older translation, he pulled out a 3x5 card. But it would work today as well.
Sure.
And he just wrote down the significant things that he thought his wife would want to know. And so he would write those down, and at the end of the day, they would have a little debrief session together, and he would run through, hey, here are the significant parts to my day. Sometimes, most certainly, they would involve his wife, and sometimes it would just be, hey, this was important to me, and letting you know about it. So a debrief at the end of each day.
Right. And I think sometimes that we can almost get our feelings hurt if you don't communicate. Well, I wish you would have told me that. And again, sometimes it's not deliberate, and sometimes we've told so many other people that we think we have told. I think I have told him something, and I haven't. But I could have sworn I did, because I've told so many other people. So I really like that idea of writing it down, or emailing it, or just texting it. Hey, remind me to tell you about such and such later on in the day. And because we have such instant communication now over social media and all of the different avenues, it would be pretty easy to do. We don't do it, but it would be nice to do. One of these days, it would be nice to do. And something else that we have really tried to do, and we're not very good at it, and every single week, but most weeks we try to sit down with our calendars and just look ahead and say, okay, if it's during the day and it's work day, sometimes we say, oh, I've got these meetings, you don't need to know every single detail, but in the evenings especially, what do we have going, or what's coming up in the next couple of weeks, and making sure that we carve out enough time for not only Dave and I, but our family, our kids, our grandkids. They're very important to us, and they're a priority, and so prioritizing them on our calendar is very important too. So by us having that time to check our calendars out and say, okay, where can we get this time carved out? So that's really important. We also take that time to go over the dastardly budget. He's the numbers man. I'm the I don't care person who I do care, but just tell me how much money I have, and I'm okay with that. That's good. Yeah, that's kind of how we are, I guess. Probably most families have one or the other, or yeah. But anyway, but it's still, we have to communicate about it, and I know that. I do know that. I try to be a good sport.
Yeah, and it's important for us in our lives. This is our desire to ignite an interest, desire, and action for those who are new or renewed in their walk with Jesus Christ through faith, family, and fun. And for us, part of our calendar, part of our communication, and we really don't have to communicate a whole lot about it for a number of reasons, is just Sunday mornings, we're going to church.
Right.
That's a high priority for us. So communication there depends on your household as to making sure that time is set aside and doesn't get trampled on for other reasons. So communicating how important that is to you, to your significant other, your spouse, your friend, whomever, that, hey, guys, don't schedule me for a football game at this time. Don't schedule me for card games at this time. That's my time for the Lord.
One of the things that you talked about was if it's important to us, and what is important to us may not seem very important to somebody else, but if the person is important to you, then that is important enough for you to listen to what they have to say, and also to make plans. Oh, that's important to you. That's not really my bag, but it's important to you, so I want to be there for you. But if it's not communicated, then It's unfair to the other person. But because something is important to someone else who you love and care about, that can make it important to you, and then you can plan accordingly as long as those things are communicated.
Well, there are certainly some overlapping here in this
Yeah.
video with the listening skills video and our upcoming conflict video, which should be fun.
Oh, yeah.
And so, until then, though, we have a question for you.
Oh, our question, thank you. What are some tools or some skills that you have used, learned, and are really using, not just
Yeah.
up here, but really using in your communication skills? Perhaps you have a system that you and your spouse, your workplace, work together toward in your communication. Share that with us, because that would be helpful to us and to other viewers. So we'd like to hear about that.
And I have found that sometimes the workplace is better than the family about having specific plans for communication. So yeah, something from workplace is a great idea.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, until we see each other again, I'm Dave.
And I'm Jen, and Lord bless you.
May it be so.